That search of the former president's Florida home, it has angered many of his supporters, including a man who tried to force his way into an FBI field office in Cincinnati yesterday. Police say the man was armed. After a car chase, he was shot and killed. Social media posts thought to be from the suspect show he may have been motivated by the search of Mar-a-Lago. Senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge has more.
The situation began around 9 a.m. Thursday when the suspect, wearing body armor and carrying a nail gun and long gun, tried to breach the FBI's visitor screening center in Cincinnati. Sources tell CBS News the suspect is Ricky Schiffer. The FBI says agents confronted the suspect before he fled, leading to a car chase.
The pursuit came to an end and he stopped his vehicle. When he got out, that's when shots were exchanged between officers and the suspect.
After an hours-long standoff, law enforcement officials say they shot and killed the suspect.
Situations like today are unfortunate. They're unfortunate for a community. They're unfortunate for those involved in it.
After the FBI searched Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home Monday, posts believed to be from the suspect encouraged people to go to Palm Beach, where Trump's estate is located, and kill federal agents if they get in the way. Additional posts that appear to be from the same man claim he was at then-President Trump's January 6th speech on the Ellipse.
We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
And later at the Capitol as the riots unfolded. Thursday morning, a user with the same name as the suspect posted, "If you don't hear from me, it is true. I tried attacking the FBI." Earlier this week, FBI Director Christopher Wray condemned calls for violence against Bureau agents.
Any threats made against law enforcement, including the men and women of the FBI, are deplorable and dangerous.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Catherine Herridge in Washington.
This is a time for judgment. Welcome to today's show. I was going to originally put this video and record this video for the website, but I decided I'm going to try to do this on YouTube because I think people out there need to understand what's happening, especially young people who might see this stuff and think it's real and then actually know beforehand it's going to happen, so they can realize that it is all scripted, because the writing was on the wall the second these stories came out about Donald Trump and Mar-a-Lago and the FBI raid and then the reaction between the left and the right. These things are all obviously scripted, and then you could guess beforehand when this stuff happens, or I should say, you can guess beforehand when this occurred, what was going to happen next. And I can't put the articles up on the screen because of the words, the algorithm will get triggered, but I know a lot of you just listen to these videos a lot of the times, like their podcasts, so I'll put pictures of what's relevant to the topic, but I can't put the actual articles. But I'm sure a lot of you heard about what happened at the FBI yesterday at one of the FBI offices in Ohio. Apparently a guy went in there armed to go after the FBI. His motive? Because the FBI went and raided Donald Trump. Could you make it up? I mean, who didn't see this coming, right? The second that this stuff happened in Florida, this was the first thing I think anybody who was awake was thinking about, that they're going to start taking these government agencies like the FBI, the CIA, and the IRS, which I'll get into, and using them as targets for MAGA. This is going to continue to create this illusion that people who are Republican are terrorists and extremists and are no longer a part of this country, and this, of course, will lead to more of the Civil War, which will eventually occur, which will eventually cause these states or territories, everything will be divided, everything will be changed. That's what this is really about. That's why they're doing this. So as soon as the thing happened with Trump in Florida, this guy decides to go. So then you get the other narrative, which if you've listened to me for a while, I always bring this narrative up, especially over on the website. And that's the narrative about what's occurred beforehand with the guy who apparently went to the FBI headquarters. He was posting on his social media platform encouraging violence against the agency. Surprise, surprise, Sydney, right? Who didn't see this narrative coming? This is about censorship, of course, and then giving them more power and control over what people post online. Because remember, this is all about gaining control. They create these false events to give them a reason to say, we have to take more control. The people ask for it, they come in, and that's what they want in the end, is to have the control. They want to make sure that the people are asking for it, and they are. Because people are going, well, what can we do about this? If people are going to post on social media encouraging violence, then we need to have more censorship online. Exactly. And that censorship fits, inside of a box, right? Because you could define censorship and say, well, I mean, we'd all agree if somebody was online saying that they wanted to go and commit a violent crime, that they should, the police should probably come to their door. But that's not what this is about. This is about obviously taking that and then stretching it so that they can look at people like me and you who are just expressing our free speech and saying that that's also dangerous and also violence because it can provoke it. And then it continues to filter down, the same as hate speech, where they want to bring in, and redefine what hate speech is. Anybody could say that something's hate speech. Somebody could say that I'm crazy. Couldn't I define that as hate speech? Oh, he's a crazy conspiracy theorist. Oh, well, it really hurts my feelings. It makes me really depressed. So couldn't I, I could say that and then say that it's hate speech. Obviously I wouldn't, but who can? Anybody could, but it's just their definition of what hate speech is, their definition of what dangerous is, and anything that's dangerous to them only has to do with people who are questioning what they're doing and exposing what they're doing, which is exactly what me and you are doing in this time period. So the funny part about it is you see an article like this about how this guy posted online on Trump's social media platform encouraging people to take violence against the agency. So why didn't the FBI step in then? Because isn't that what we're supposed to believe the Central Intelligence Agency's doing? I mean, we know that they're censoring free speech on YouTube and other platforms just by deleting channels, demonetizing them, shutting them down. Are they monitoring people who are literally putting words in, like, let's go shoot up, or let's go... I would think that they are, because we're told that that's what the FBI and the CIA and the NSA do, is that they're there to protect us, so they monitor these things. But then somehow these events occur at schools, and then they tell us that the guy posted stuff online, and then this event occurs, and they tell us this guy posted stuff online, but nobody's intercepting it when they easily could. That's because the government and the FBI are behind these events, and the CIA. They're behind it because they want to bring in more censorship. Now, I will guarantee you that we're going to hear of more of these events in the future, not just with the FBI, but also with the IRS. Because this bill that just got passed, which is pretty much, I mean, you look at this, and it's almost like they're baiting people to not pay their taxes. They're like baiting people with the stuff that they're doing to not pay their taxes. Because a lot of us are thinking that. We're like, why would we pay for this stuff and fund this stuff? And they're baiting people. So now they're bringing in more IRS agents to audit the middle class, which means people like me and you. The crazy part about it is the liberal narrative out there is encouraging this and saying this is great that we have more IRS agents, and liberal people think it's great. Huh? Do you want more? I mean, they're going to audit you too. They're going to audit anybody. And everybody, people like put things on their taxes like, oh, it's a business expense. And, stuff like that. They'll audit every little thing. They're not auditing the millionaires, the Jeff Bezos of the world. And these idiot liberal people think that they are going to audit the rich. No, they're not. They're auditing us. It's to monitor us down to a penny, which, of course, brings in that Chinese communist government mindset of monitoring you to a penny, which is what this eventually will be. They'll be tracking everything you spend with your carbon footprint. So the IRS isn't just bringing in more agents. The IRS, as I covered months ago, is arming more agents. Now, for those of you who know about Bill Cooper, whatever your take is on the guy, he was a truther who's long gone, but the IRS is actually the cause of his death. They claim the IRS went to his front door and he pulled out a gun and they shot him. I mean, people don't realize that the IRS has been armed, but now they're arming them more. Somebody posted on the website a really good thing that I didn't even know about, that they're out in Utah now, and they're doing sniper training for the IRS agents, the new ones that they're hiring, right? And our tax money is funding this. So this is another government agency that's going to be armed against the civilians. They're going to create a false flag, I guarantee it, where somebody who's MAGA or a Republican is going to go to the IRS headquarters and do something, a fake hoaxed event. Why? Because then they could come out and they could say, these people are extremely dangerous, and on top of that, the IRS is just doing their job. Now the IRS has a reason for sniper training. Now the IRS has a reason to be armed. So that people aren't like, wait a minute, we're buying guns and ammo for the IRS? Because when that story came out, a lot of people were going, wait, what? People like me were going, oh yeah, well they've been armed, but I mean, the fact that they're openly admitting to doing it and they're buying more than they've ever bought is a little suspicious. Well, now we know why that story came out months ago. Because they were planning on passing this bill and openly telling people, hey, we dare you not to pay your taxes because it'll just give us a reason to throw you in jail. And don't forget all of those cells that are now empty that were once occupied by actual criminals. Remember all those stories about the one-niner, how they were letting people out because they were afraid they were going to get sick? I had mentioned how they were going to use those cells for people like me and you. That's exactly what they're going to do. So they're baiting people into not paying their taxes because they want to lock them up. Because they're going to say they're un-American, even though this is no longer America. This is now a communist country, 100%. So by creating a false flag with the IRS, then they can come out and say, well, this is why we're training now the IRS IRS to have snipers and all these people because of these false flags. That's how this whole thing works. So then people go, oh, well, it makes sense the IRS is armed. Remember that event that occurred at date to be determined? Because this will happen, I'm telling you. I'm not Nostradamus, I'm not a prophet. This is how these psyops work. If you just pay attention to what they're doing, it's the same themes all the time, right? Anything in a school, the same themes. It's the same weapon that's used every time, right? The 15, the AR-15 or whatever it's called, the AR-15. It's always the guys posting on social media that when we should have been suspicious beforehand and we need to watch what people post, that type of narrative. And 9 times out of 10, the guy never makes it out alive. So we never know what his motive is. And the motive is, there is no motive. That's why none of these stories ever even make sense. There's no motive behind. He didn't even know the people, right? When you think if somebody had a motive, it would be somebody who did something to them or harmed them or hurt them or broke up with them, et cetera, et cetera. Now they just go, they wake up one day and they want to go to a school or a grocery store and go after innocent people. Not innocent, because anyone would be innocent, but random people that they've never heard of, don't know, and they just decide, yeah, I'm just going to do it this way. Makes no sense. That's because it's not supposed to. It's just about bringing in narrative. So this story with the FBI is obviously, you could see the writing on the wall, the thing with Trump, right? Because all the narrative that came out of it was above the law, which I covered yesterday, or a couple days ago, whenever I covered it, the above the law narrative, right? And the banana Republican narrative, and the MAGA narrative of MAGA being extremists. This is how they're going to, they want people to visualize the Civil War, right? The MAGA crowd, the Republicans are terrorists. They're extremists. They no longer want to participate in our government, and thus they should be jailed, or they should be, taken down by any means necessary, deported, whatever their plan is, put in separate states where we have to divide the two sides, because clearly, it's way too big of an amount of people who are Republican. The people that they claim are extremists, they're claiming everybody is. They claim that people like me are extremists, like we would go and do some event at a school. I mean, it's unbelievable that people buy this stuff and they don't see that it's the government who's creating all of this division. It's the government who's creating all of this on purpose. They're dividing us. They're the ones who are telling us all this stuff is so bad, the world's so bad. They're the ones who are locking us in our own homes, causing the mental health problems. People don't realize it because they don't stop and think who's doing this, who controls the media, who's behind the narrative, And of course, the government is making themselves to be victims. That's the final card being played in this whole psyop, is that the government's coming out and they're going, well, we're victims. The agencies are now under attack. These agencies that are so well trusted, when everybody knows how corrupt the FBI and the CIA is. You can go back and look at stuff with Ted Gunderson, who used to be the head of the FBI when they were investigating McMartin. He wasn't then, but before that, and he talked about how the FBI had been infiltrated and corrupted, and that they, were turning a blind eye to all these events with the kids, et cetera, et cetera. We know that what the CIA is and why it was created. If you don't know the history of the CIA, I mean, you can even go back to Kennedy. Of course, Kennedy was one of them, but there's always disagreements within. Just like Christians have disagreements with other Christians, these wicked people have disagreements within their own organizations about what the right direction is and the wrong direction. And the CIA was something that, Kennedy's wanted to get rid of. The CIA is obviously in full control now. And you have, your own CIAs in other countries, the M16 or MI6 or whatever, in the UK, etc. But they want to make these agencies, which are really the ones who are behind all this stuff, now the victims. Because this is another thing that they always do, right? I cover this all the time. The victim, the victim, the victim, right? Well, I recently just covered, and they gave me a strike for the video, but it's on my website, how they make, these satanic characters in the shows. The Satanists are the victims. The witch hunts, the witches are the victims. This certain group of people with big noses and love the taste of bagels, always victims. Can't question them, can't say anything bad about them. If you do, they put up satanic panic, or they put up other anti-comments to make sure you don't question these people because they're so guilty. It's the same thing here. Same thing, right? The FBI, they're wonderful people. They're here to protect us, and these people are now turning on the FBI, right? Don't question the FBI. Don't turn on the FBI. Don't turn on the CIA. Don't turn on the NSA. Don't question these agencies that are here to protect us. And the liberal people are so dumbed down. They're just, it's both sides are just so dumbed down. It's unbelievable. If the right-wing people who claim to be awake can't see that they're being baited, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's like they're just holding up a carrot covered in chocolate in front of them, and they're just jumping and dancing for it because they're doing all this stuff and they're buying into all this stuff. You read the comment sections underneath Fox News videos, it's unbelievable. They're like, we got to do something, we got to, And it's like, they're all commenting and saying this is going to turn to a civil war. Like, no crap, it's going to turn to a civil war because that's what they want is a civil war. So pull yourself out of this and realize that the Republican media wouldn't exist if they didn't want it to. You think Fox News would be on the air if they didn't want to? They have to give this illusion that the people are the ones destroying the government. The people are the ones who are at war with one another, not them creating it. It's so simple to see. Otherwise, Fox News wouldn't be on the media. It wouldn't be what it is. Fox wouldn't own the rights to the NFL. Fox wouldn't be this huge corporation, huge media outlet. Period. I mean, it's as easy as that to figure out. They'd shut the channel down, just like they shut down YouTubers, etc., etc. It's not about money, but they have to give the illusion that there's freedom and there's a democracy and there's a choice, and the people are making the choices, and the people are the ones destroying all of what is already in place. And they'll be the ones who come in and save the day, along with the Antichrist. That's how this stuff works. So, a reminder again, if you haven't subbed to my backup channel, I forget what it's called. Oh, A Time for Justice. Please make sure you do so now. It's linked below. A good chance to get a strike on this video. I mean, I don't even know, like I've said before, I don't know what gets a strike and what doesn't anymore. I can talk about the Satanic Panic. Apparently now it's offensive. I talk about Stranger Things, the characters. It's offensive. It's hate speech or medical misinfo. I forget. I got medical misinfo for saying, check out a video on my website. So, I mean, it's really unbelievable. And then you appeal it. You're like, oh, I should win the appeal because there's nothing in there. And they can't prove it. They can't show you what they're even striking. And they go, no, it's upheld. You're like, what? Huh? And then you have a video that might be borderline controversial, and they don't even do anything with that. So they don't have a clue what they're doing. Their algorithm is they like to think of it like a T2, like it's real smart. I mean, the thing wishes that it could literally have a clue, but it doesn't. I mean, we're talking about like the lowest. It's just one of the. I mean, the algorithm is so stupid on here. It's unbelievable. The stuff they flag versus stuff they don't flag. Obviously, I try to tell people if you have your own channel to avoid the keywords that you put in the titles and in the tags if you're new to all this stuff. That way they won't put their stupid little blue box in there. Some of the pictures actually can trigger the blue box that they put in trying to give you the Wikipedia answer. But again, if you're actually dumb enough to believe the Wikipedia that goes under the video and you don't realize why they're force feeding you that, then you're probably already beyond help at this point. So check out the other channel. Hope to see you guys on the website at timeforjudgment.com. I appreciate all of you greatly. God bless you and your families.